Good evening. This is July 23rd, 2020, WPCA meeting. What we'd like to do is, Nick, would you read the notice?
And act upon an increase in the sewer use charge for those properties that have had their sewage treated at the West Haven, Connecticut Water Pollution Control Facility. A copy of said user charges is available upon request through the Office of the Town Clerk, Town Hall, Orange, Connecticut. Due to COVID-19 and pursuant to Executive Order 7B, public attendance at the hearing is not permitted. Written comments should be submitted to B. Britton at orange-ct.gov by 4 p.m. on July 23rd, 2020, in order to be considered at the hearing. The hearing will be broadcast on Orange Government Access Television. Phil Grandy, Chairman.
Thank you, Nick.
You're welcome.
I'd like to start.
I am Commissioner Robert Sigler.
Commissioner Mike Visnick.
Commissioner Nick Mastrangelo.
Commissioner Mike Riccitelli.
Arthur Williams, Town Treasurer.
Barbara Howard, Recording Secretary.
Bob Britton, Town Engineer.
Mr. Chairman, Vince Marino, Board's Attorney. Just while we're in COVID mode, just want to welcome everyone back to in-person meetings. We have specific attire for town business.
Thank you.
I just want to make sure everyone's dressed appropriately. Do what you want with it.
I'll put it on. Got to make sure it's
my
right side
God.
up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney. Thank you, Vin. My ears are too small.
It stretches.
Okay. With that point taken care of, I'd like to start the public hearing for the proposed sewer rate increase from $6.95 to $7.85 per 1,000 gallons. Okay. Mr. Britton?
Yes.
Do you have any communications relating to the public?
No emails were received on the rate hearing.
Thank you. Thank you. We have a number of background information related to this. Thank you, Art, for delivering it. Can you give us a quick summation?
Let's see, the current year budget is $1,096,485, and revenue other than usage is $283,138. The balance is to come from usage, $813,347. Our billable gallons last year, or no, in 18-19, were 103 million gallons. That would necessitate a rate of 7.89 per 1,000 gallons. We're doing a request of 7.85 per 1,000 gallons. This will produce an additional revenue of $92,800 from the previous year. That's
Okay, and
That's it in a nutshell.
That's pretty much it. What we're looking at is an increase of costs from the West Haven system and an operation cost from the Orange WPCA, which initiated this increase. Correct, Art? Good. Thank you, Art. All right, we have, I'd like a motion on the floor. Michael? Make a motion. The motion is to increase the rate per 1,000 gallons from $6.95 to $7.85 per 1,000 gallons. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay. Any comments? Okay. Hearing none, I'll move the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Abstained? Motion passes. This is the end of the public hearing of the proposed sewer rate increase. Okay. With that, at this time, we will start our normal WPCA meeting, which is to start with the approval of the minutes of January 23rd, 2020 meeting, which was our last meeting. So we're going to have a copy. See any, give you a minute to go through them, any additions, deletions, corrections? Okay. Hearing none. Okay. Take a motion?
Yeah, move to accept minutes as presented.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? And withheld? Motion passes. Okay, next up would be Bob Britton. Bob, the Viola operations and maintenance report, including the Indian River problem. If you would give us a quick summation on the Indian River problem.
Sure,
I'm not sure is that live?
I think so.
Okay,
Since your last meeting, there haven't been that many alarm call-outs. Veolia responded to a few low battery things and loss of communication. One was a flooded dry well, but nothing major. Work that's taken place, Indian River Road, the flow meter was replaced back in January. Level sensor was installed in March. And most recently, they were attempting to replace the flanges. And because the pumps weren't seating properly, and when they attempted to do that, they realized that the base elbows that holds the piping at the bottom of the wet well, it was disconnected. And when they had cleaned everything out, the concrete is all corroded at the bottom. So they stopped the project and because they can't bolt to it. So that's probably going to be our capital project for this year is making that repair. And that's, you know, I had given a draft plan last time, and it's got to be flexible. When, you know, something comes up, then that'll be the highest priority, and other stuff will get
Bob, they did give us an estimate on that?
We haven't got the full thing. I think the piping and concrete work was about $38,000, and that doesn't include the bypass pumping. They're still getting pricing on that from a couple of companies, so it'll be in the, you know, multiple tens of thousands range. That's why we have a budget for that kind of stuff. Veolia had been doing the fats, oil, and grease inspections at the restaurant. That stopped in March when all the restaurants got closed. But they're restarting that, and at their request, we sent a letter to all the food service establishments that they would be coming by and asking to check records. So that's good. We're trying to be proactive on that again. The only other major stuff that went on is, since your last meeting, is at the Boston Post Road Station. The, there used to be fans and ducting in the wet well that had been, the fans didn't work anymore, and the ducting was so rusted, they were afraid it was gonna fall into the water, so that was removed. There's been typical generator service, HVAC service, that kind of thing. That's all I have to report.
That's it.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you, Bob. Of course, the next was the town engineer's report, but I think you included the whole thing in there. Is that correct?
Correct.
Very good. Next item up is the sewer service area amendment procedures. 6 and 7 are actually together. And the reason for them being on the agenda is we have a request from Smith Farm Road for an additional connection to our sewer system. That's 329 Smith Farm Road for 47 units proposed. And prior to going to any of the other boards, they need our approval. However, in researching it as we've done in the past, we cannot give approval at this meeting unless we approach the West Haven WPCA, and then they approach their engineer and their mayor, the city council, because of an agreement we had when our service map, our sewer service map was instituted. Any additions or deletions to it must be passed and agreed to by the West Haven WPCA. Okay? So even though we have all the documentation for the request, okay, what we have is not a conundrum, but a small problem where in order for us to pass or give approval, if we decide as such, okay, we first must go to the town of West Haven, city of West Haven, and get their approval for an addition to the map, which is our sewer service map. And I see a hand by Mayor, whoa, sorry, I gave you a promotion.
That's a demotion.
That's a demotion.
Mr. Chair, I believe, if my recollection is, I've been speaking with the town engineer and trying to recall how we did this back in 2006 with Fieldstone Village. So as the body may recall, the town of Orange is broken up into a sewered area and a sewer avoidance zone. And the sewer avoidance zone is primarily... Can you hear me? All right, I'll try. The sewer avoidance zone is generally the residential district. The sewered area is generally the Post Road and south of the Post Road. In 2006, when Fieldstone Village was under application, they made application to this body for an amendment to the sewer avoidance map. And so in the first instance, I would think this body has to make a decision as to whether or not you're inclined to modify the sewer avoidance map. That decision, assuming if it was is in the affirmative, is then going to be subject to the acceptance or rejection by the city of West Haven, because our effluent flows into their system and is defined very specifically by what type of projects it will not take waste from. So I believe the subject area, Smith Farm Road, in the last Plan of Conservation and Development, the Planning and Zoning Commission kind of rendered I don't want to say it an opinion, because the POCD is simply an advisory document, but to the extent that there were these types of developments, they were under the POCD along the Post Road in these types of neighborhoods. So I think in the first thing what would happen is that this matter should be set down for a public hearing as to whether or not the sewer avoidance map should be amended to permit the entrance of sewers into this street. Then it would then be subject to, I guess, acceptance or rejection by the city of West Haven. And assuming they got their two approvals there, then they could come back and actually get permission to connect. right? So I think it's a three-step process.
So at this point in time, our step tonight would be, one, to address the change in the sewer avoidance map,
Correct.
okay, with the intention and knowledge of the addition of 329 Smith Farm Road. Okay, this will limit our focus just to that.
Correct, because I believe under the agreement with the city of West Haven, there's plenty of capacity.
Yes,
So it's not a capacity issue, but I believe it's the type of development, because I believe that agreement is more specific as to commercial-style developments and not residential-style developments. So we might need to have an amendment to that agreement if the city of West Haven were so inclined
all right.
to allow this type of development.
So I'm looking at this meeting, we should discuss and vote on if we want to adopt a change to the sewer avoidance map.
Yes.
And then secondly, we should, if it is agreed to, secondly, we should go back and present the request and table that request and send an official request to the city of West Haven.
You could do it that way, and then for purposes of the amendment to the sewer avoidance map, it's being subject to a public hearing. What I would suggest is if the inclination were that the body was in favor of referring the matter to the city of West Haven, you can do that. Any approval to amend the map would be subject to public hearing, which you could then set for a future date when the applicant came forward with their request to connect, and you could do everything in the same night.
Okay,
Because if the city of West Haven says no, then why hold a public hearing?
correct.
Right?
So the only action needed tonight was to table the request and make a formal request to the city of West Haven,
If the body were so inclined.
if the body is so inclined.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Vin.
You're welcome.
Okay, hearing that, Mr. Britton?
I have some maps if you want me to hand out.
Yes,
It might
if you
be
would.
helpful. And the other thing is, there was an email from the developer's attorney, Hollister.
Everybody got it?
If you didn't get it, then have a copy. Because they can't be here tonight because of the COVID stuff, so they wanted to be heard as best they could. You do, excellent.
Same map,
Yeah, the only difference is
mine's bigger.
no, I colored in the proposed one. I'm not going there. Better. Should be the same.
Okay. Thank you.
Green on here is the Seward area. And the pink area is the sewer avoidance. The bright red is the considering.
Thank you, Bob. We have, I guess at this point in time, we would like to at least bring up the question of, do we want to request, are we agreeable to request West Haven to change the sewer avoidance map? Okay, so once you take a good look at that.
And Mr. Chair, I think the issue would be the city would not change the sewer avoidance map. They would simply be amending the agreement to allow this type of project.
Okay, do we have that? Wait a second.
So it would be, the action of this body would be to refer the question of whether the city of West Haven's WPCA
Right.
would be agreeable to amend the intermunicipal agreement to allow for the applicant's project.
We're all set. Thank you, Vin.
You're welcome.
Okay. Having that on the table, I believe we'll have a quick poll, see who's in favor and who would like
I
to
just
discuss.
have, I have a question
Go
for
ahead.
Bob. Bob, on the map, the area that is green at the end of Smith Farm Road, is that the military housing?
Correct.
Is that currently, so that is permitted?
Yep.
Is that serviced by the sewers?
Yeah.
Yes.
It is.
There was an amendment done early 90s or something, mid 90s, there was a formal amendment with West Haven to add that area. There was another formal one done to add where the Target store actually is, because I think only the front property was commercial and
So
we-
the sewer
we've done it
line,
before.
so the sewer line doesn't need to be extended. It runs right by this property, adjacent to this property?
What runs by there is a 2-inch force main, so they're not proposing to connect to that. They would build about 300 feet of gravity sewer to connect. But you're right, there is a sewered area past it on Smith Farm Road.
We have a pumping station in that small green box, a very tiny pumping station. That actually is, I've driven by it 4 or 5 times before I found it. Looks like part of a shed from somebody. It's maintained, has been maintained for the years since we purchased the property. This property was septic for the military, and the military pumped it out. When we took possession of it, we put in a pump station, took out the septic system, and connected it through a force main, a 2-inch force main, I think, over down to our main run on the post road. So there's no way to get into that 2-inch because it's a force main. Okay?
Okay.
So they would have to do, because they are actually a little higher than the post road, it would, I believe, the whole thing would be a gravitational run, a grav run.
I have another question, I suppose for Attorney Marino, possibly. If we were to approve the alteration of the sewer avoidance map to accommodate this, would it enable other residential neighbors across the street, for instance, to connect to the sewer?
Well, two different issues. I would say theoretically in location, meaning that if now a new sewer line is coming in and it is in front of their property, theoretically it might be capable of connection. However, the sewer avoidance zone it would only be changed for the Smith Farm Road 4.7 acres, and so those properties would remain outside of the sewered zone. So they would theoretically have to come to this body and seek a further amendment of the map before they could connect. And I suspect, as we have done up at Fieldstone Village and likely with the military housing, that the line would be designed so that it would not accommodate connections like that. That's generally how we would avoid the ability for the concern of expansion just by way of connection.
Got it. Thank you.
Yes.
Any more questions or discussion?
Just
Go ahead.
to clarify, it appears, based on their proposed flows, that our system can handle this no problem.
There's a Titan bond
I saw that.
run that we did, I think, 4 years
It was
ago,
4
5 years ago.
I don't think anything has changed much.
Nothing has changed. So we were not even at 40% capacity then, and we could run it up to 80%. So we have, it's not a problem of capacity, it's a problem of agreement of West Haven accepting to change the map that we agreed to originally. Okay. Any other questions?
Are you looking for a motion?
Yes, because we have to go to, we
Okay.
must go to West Haven, so the motion,
All right. I'll make a motion that we alter the sewer avoidance map to accommodate the proposed development at 329 Smith Farm Road.
subject to,
Subject to approval of West Haven.
correct. Okay,
I'll second the motion.
that's a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Withheld? Motion passes. Okay, we're down to comments from commissioners. And we can go around the board, and we can start here.
I don't have anything to
Mike?
add to this.
Mike? Mike?
The The only question I have is, are they gonna need a right-of-way to get through to the sewer? Oh, sorry. Are they gonna need a right-of-way to get through from that property to the sewer line? How does that? They're gonna run a private sewer on their property.
Right.
And then it's gonna come out to Smith Farm Road, and then there'll be a public sewer. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Planning on
Right.
running along the side of the road. Gotcha. In the roadway.
They'll put it in, but it'll be ours,
Gotcha. All right, no problem.
okay?
These are general comments you're looking for?
General, yeah, any,
Okay, well, I would like to make two comments. One, in reference to the increase that we approved earlier this meeting, is that in the future, I would like this commission to see if there's any way that we could keep those costs down. By my calculations, it's about a 12% increase, which is substantial, and I know that it really only affects generally the commercial tenants, commercial users in town,
affects-
and not the residents, but it does have an effect on their costs. So if there's anything we can do to, and I know we're at the mercy of the city of West Haven, but perhaps this committee can take that up in the future.
okay. Art,
I would be happy to keep it down, but it's a question of volume. We really need more commercial use to spread out the cost. And that's part of the problem.
if I might, there's another part of the problem, and that is West Haven is starting a rebuild of their pumping stations, of which, Vin,
Yes.
I believe we're on the hook for 14%.
It's 14 or 17?
I think it's less than,
Varies by
should be
pump
less than
station.
that.
Yeah. So this,
Okay.
the
But
biggest
it's
piece of this
substantial.
increase this year was at 72,000, and that's for the first pump station. Cove,
Cove River,
yeah.
okay.
And then the next one, I think, is under this, their schedule is like 2 years out.
And the problem is billing. We're still waiting to get the bill for the accurate number.
And they're paying for it on a 20-year program. So those increases are gonna stay in place until that's done.
On the good side, we just made our final payment from the last 20 years. $33,000, I believe?
That was the final payment on part of it, yes.
Yes. So we finish one, we start another. Any other comments? Bob? Anything?
Nothing else?
Okay, I'm going to ask Vin. Vin, any comments?
I am good.
Okay, I have a small announcement. I would love to stay here for many, many more years, but I'm afraid I can't. So this will be my last WPCA meeting. Okay, and in the meantime, I need someone to take over at least a temporary chairmanship.
Mr. Chairman, before you move on, I just want to say on behalf of the administration, I'm sure on behalf of the body, we thank you for your leadership,
Thank you.
and we wish you well, and we are here to support you.
Thank you very much, very much. And I'm still waiting for a name.
They're waiting to see who takes your place.
And with that, I've notified the first selectman, and he is in a search mode for a replacement. So I think I've got more documentation at home than you have here, and I'll be glad to bring it in and share it with anyone.
And if I guess I can say gentlemen, if the gentlemen want to wait until their next meeting, they can use that as an organizational meeting so that
Sure.
they can think before they act.
Excellent. And with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
So moved. All in favor?
Thank you very much.
It's actually been a pleasure. Okay?